You know, this is absolute lunacy. I made a video only 2 weeks ago talking about my opinions of Dead by Daylight. I literally just finished watching their 6th anniversary stream, and I have some things to say about it. Remember in my last video when I talked about how Dead by Daylight hits your basal instincts? I'm paraphrasing. Well, we just got an announcement that there's going to be a dating sim where you, the player, romance the killers. Now, nobody sees a problem with this. And this is right after the Evil Dead game released. Come on now. I remember referencing something about that in my last video about how they hype up big releases right around the time where games that could show competition start to pop up. Are they bringing in sex to stay relevant, profiting off of fetishists at this point? Is it maybe because people are so used to the constant gratuitous mindless torture of murder that behavior is pulling at straws to stay in the conversation? When I first heard about this announcement, I thought it would be cringy at best, and maybe focusing on the survivors. You know, since so many people have their ships, I had my ships too when I played the game. But no, it's romanticizing the killers. And with Spirit, that's straight up necro. I literally titled my video "A Game Designed to Hook You" weeks before this announcement came out. This is ridiculous. What the fuck? At what point does a joke go too far? I'm gonna watch the VOD again. Like, I can't believe what I just saw. In fact, this is fucking crazy. Yo, Zach, pull up a chair. Okay. You're not gonna believe the weird shit I just saw. So I'm gonna make you see it too. Watch this. You hear it?
Yep.
All right.
I mean, Dead by Daylight is trash. What?
Look, they're saying that's a JoJo's reference.
As if I ever had any less of a reason to play this game. Hooked on You.
It's the same.
Dead by Daylight datings.
Here he is.
Wow, this is cringe. What is this, like, background? He's out on, like,
This is
Hawaii
the-
stuff, and he's, like, in the shack or something?
It's set on the beach, but he's in the shack.
Our Dead by Daylight stories.
What stories? Dead by Daylight stories? Dead by Daylight has a story?
Look how thirsty they are. Actually talks about how thirsty they are. Oh, hold on.
Thirsty for the spirit's bath. Belle Delphine, I blame you. Give us Trickster and Undies.
Yeah, this is so bad.
Daddy Trapper.
They're literally not hiding it anymore. They're trying to profit off of perversion.
Oh my god. This is cringe. It doesn't sound insane, it sounds stupid.
I love you, Colonel Sanders.
I love you, Colonel Sanders. Wait, hold on.
That's a game called I Love You, Colonel Sanders.
Well, we gotta look it up now for the content. The most delicious dating sim. Anyway, watch the chat too.
I really, do I have to?
Yes. Look at this guy. Break my back, mommy 100.
I want to see some hot dripping David.
See, look, hold on a second.
Not April 1st, is it?
They're wanting to say they want to put a little bit of heart and butterflies and shine some rosy, warm light onto
That dude looks like a fucking creep. Like,
Yeah.
imagine a dude looks at you like that in a club.
I've seen the devs look like that at me in clubs, actually. We'll get to that. You know, I think this is the video where I should really explain what happened with that behavior
I'm
dev.
just gonna go around looking like this everywhere.
You know?
That'll kill the ladies.
You gotta make sure that you insult them first. Stay tuned for that. Right there. Someone saw my video I made,
Yeah.
sent it to the top, and they were like, oh shit, someone's calling out that our whole game is a gimmick. Let's say on the anniversary stream that there are no gimmicks.
I mean, you did call it a gimmick.
Are you kidding me? Like, come on, guys. I made this video saying everything that's wrong with what's going on here.
Wow.
2 weeks ago.
That's funny. That says, is this an April Fool's joke? I said that. I didn't even read that comment. I was like, is this April 1st? This is a joke. Like, the game's fucking terrible anyway. Like,
It's a serious game.
how is this anything but a gimmick?
See what he's doing here? He's saying that, oh, the only gimmick is that there aren't gimmicks. He's planting that idea in your head.
Planting the seed.
Yeah, like he's planting the seed in your head that, like, oh, this isn't a gimmick, this is actually a good idea. And he's trying to say, if these characters were more real, trying to justify the monsters being real, I guess.
First off, it's not an interesting idea. Second off, the game is a hide-and-go-seek simulator. What compelling narratives are they creating?
Sex.
Well, like, here's the thing.
Am I allowed to say that on YouTube?
Isn't the game about, like, some entity eating people or some shit, and you have to, the killer has to feed them to the entity or something like that? Isn't that, like, the whole
Oh,
premise?
the new killer that they just released literally sucks you into their pelvic area into a shadow. That's the Mori. That literally
Is it a girl?
was... I don't know.
I could sex the Wraith? The Wraith has gay legs. Pass it on.
See what kind of crazy stuff comes from it.
Let's see what crazy stuff
I'm
comes from
so bewildered by the comments. Are people really this mindless? Are people just sheep?
Yeah, that.
Someone's sitting at their keyboard. Oh my god, I gotta type about how cool this is, guys.
You're not even allowed to comment unless you've been following for at least 2 months,
Bunch
by
of
the way.
brainwashed. Ugh. Like, I just... Hentai game, yes.
Here's where it gets really dark and twisted and messed up. He's saying they're taking the most inhuman characters and making them as human as we could. What does that mean? That means that they're trying to normalize monsters being more human, empathizing with monsters. Okay?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're trying to present this thing where it's like, oh, just because they're a monster doesn't mean they don't deserve love too. What does that sound like? I would say it rhymes with cap and starts with M instead. Those types. They're not monsters. They just need to feel some love. Everyone, even if they're a sickening freak that murders or does all these heinous things, they need to be loved too. Comments are horrible.
I need Plague to puke on me. Like, what is wrong with you?
It's like, I'm not contributing much here because it's hard for me to process the absolute idiocy of not only the idea and the way that this company just grasps at straws, but also how stupid the community is. They just eat this up hook, line, and sinker.
They're gonna try to pretend that they're all inclusive. Like you can romance the wraith or the spirit. You can be bisexual for sexual romantic relations with literal monsters.
Oh, but Ellie, come on, it's just a joke.
Yeah, it's just a joke.
It's supposed to be funny. Honestly, I've never understood the connection that horror games always have with like these macabre, dark, sexual things. I've never understood that. Like even going back to the old Friday the 13th movies. Why do horror movies always have this whole thing of like sexual relationship with people along with like a murderous killer?
This is a shirt from Halloween Horror Nights. I produce and direct horror films. Zach loves horror too, plays horror games. Yeah, and Resident Evil's in DVD. Let's talk about, the licenses.
I've been playing Resident Evil since Resident Evil 1 for PlayStation 1, Biohazard, very beginning. There's just something different. When I think about Resident Evil 2 for the PlayStation 1, that was terrifying. Dead by Daylight isn't even horror. Like,
that's true. And their dating sim isn't supposed to be horror. It's supposed to be light and bubbly.
It's just trash. And like, I'm not surprised that like so many other companies are trying to come up with ways to kill it, but you've got this brainwashed ass community that just sucks up anything that they throw out, no matter how stupid this is. It's just a big circle. You're running in circles. Right
after Evil Dead was released,
they have a shtick. Anytime their competitor comes along, they pop out something new that's gonna wow the community and bring them all back. Like they can't let the attention go anywhere else.
Yeah, like what's gonna happen 10 years from now when we hear about what's going on with behavior?
Yeah, like I mean, look at all the stuff that happened with Bobby Kotick, right? And that was like 2008 to 2013 or
Blizzard,
whatever.
yeah.
What happens now? Like what's going on in Dead by Daylight? Like what are people doing behind the scenes there? You're telling me that every single game dev that worked for Dead by Daylight is on board with the idea of sexualizing their own horror characters?
It's crazy. They wear how problematic they are on their sleeves at this point because they know how problematic it is.
Well, the game has a bunch of like toxic communities full of this people sexualizing themselves, and like I don't get it. Every game has their simps and that kind of thing, but Dead by Daylight seems to have this almost like expectation that if you're gonna play Dead by Daylight, you got to be one of these communities, and like you're either following an e-girl or you're following a fuckboy. It can't be a coincidence that so many communities involved with this game have so many heinous, toxic people in them, because culture in a business or in anything starts at the top, right? I used to be in corporate management. So the way that you set your culture for your product or for your business is by setting the culture at the highest level so that you set an example for the people underneath. So when you got a bunch of perverts at the top of Dead by Daylight, of course the game's going to be filled with perverts, because they're setting the culture for everybody, for their employees and for the masses at will. So like I'm saying it right now, I told you so.
I told everybody so weeks ago with all the crap that they're mentioning in here.
But like my issue with this, I think, is that they are clearly like crossing into that realm. Okay, we're horror that does sex. Like how many trash horror movies just implement sex scenes in them for no reason?
Right.
Well, this is what we're doing, but we're making it funny this time, so it's okay, right? But like, look how sexualized those characters are.
And I'm telling you, it's no coincidence that it was right after the release of David being gay.
Well, they do that to give themselves a safety buffer for their thing they're going to do. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you guys think we're being sexually insensitive? Look, David King is gay. They're just piggybacking off of social issues to make a profit and to draw more people in, to cast a wider net, target their audience more specifically or less specifically. Like, the idea of inclusivity in this is just a profit maker.
How do you feel about them making a profit off of your sexual orientation? Inclusivity should not mean tolerance for depravity. And I say that as an LGBT member myself, and Zach's an ally as well.
There's so many things that just don't sit right about this. Like, humanizing monstrous killers, make them seem more human and desirable. Like, you're not being forced to play this, of course, but when you play it, you're forced into a paradigm where you have to find a reason to be attracted to a heinous psychopath. What are you hiding? What are you projecting? Are these people who came up with this idea projecting?
Humans and relatable.
That's ironic because none of them are different from each other at all, except in aesthetics. They said they want all of them to be more human and more relatable. Well, every single character in Dead by Daylight's the same. The only difference is their skins.
Yep.
So how is that relatable unless you're saying humans shouldn't be individualized in any other way than the products they wear? Oh, you're only as individual as your Calvin Klein underwear or as your Gucci bag.
You can change their perks to be whatever you want.
The idea behind that is humans are all the same. If you're making everyone the same and mutable to be the same like that, then you're saying that makes them more relatable. Than what you're saying is that human beings aren't that different, and there is no individualism. And what you're saying is that the only important distinctive characteristic is what you consume. Because as a player of Dead by Daylight, what you consume is the ability to get cosmetics and to make your characters look unique. It's projecting a very shallow and superficial view on humanity and what it means to be a human just from that concept alone, and they openly admit it here.
All these killers come from a really human place. Do they? Do they?
Isn't one of them like a demigorgon?
To begin with.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. They've suffered trauma and they have dark things in the past. Oh my God, this is low-hanging fruit. You should take that person that has that really bad trauma that like does horrible things to children or like violates women. You know, it's trauma and it's really dark, but you should love them too. That they deserve love, and it's just this really dark trauma that made them that way. You know, that they don't need to be held accountable for what they do. That they're just misunderstood. If you make a comedy, make you laugh at them, and then put you in a situation where you have to love them. This is not a joke. This is not a joke. People are going to perceive it that way. I'm sure people are going to be like, Zach's a curmudgeon. But like the reality is that you watching this, if you think this is something good, you are being brainwashed. You are being propagandized. And you are being manipulated as a consumer.
Some sort of really dark thing in their past that bringing them into this kind of comedy.
I just said it. That's literally what I just said. Like, I can read this like a book. They're not even thinly hiding how fucked up this is. If you make anything can be made funny in the right light.
It was just like pretty wild.
It's like pretty wild.
We had a lot of fun with it.
These are supposed to be respectable people in society. Look at this dude. Like, if one of these dudes came up to you, I'd be like, Ellie, stay as far away from these motherfuckers as you can.
Yep, and I have met personally one of the developers of this game.
Oh, yeah.
Is it time to say that story, or should we wait till the end of the VOD? So, I was big in the cosplay community, and I played a lot, and I streamed a lot. I went to a little DBD after party that they were doing at an arcade a few years ago. And this young guy, probably 30s-ish, came up to me, and it's called feigning interest. Dude, why are you hanging out here? And I'm like, well, I play this game. And he's like, oh, tell me about it. What do you do? Right? Pretending to be interested. And he's like, let me buy you a drink. And I'm like, whatever. And so he gets me drinking, right? And I say, oh, it's this 4v1, asymmetrical horror. I like to play. It's pretty fun. And he goes, oh, cool. Well, I'm a dev. He was a character developer. He made one of the characters. And still waiting on someone from Behavior to get back to me about this. So while we're drinking at the bar, I don't remember exactly how the conversation went, but actually a lot of other streamers were there. Maybe if anyone's watching this, you guys will remember this situation. Because I know there were a lot of people who heard it because I made a thing about it. He asked me if I found him attractive. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. I suppose you're attractive, whatever. And he's like, oh, well, you're like a 3. And I, a little tipsy, I'm like, what the hell? You just called me a 3? That's kind of fucking rude to call someone a 3. And so the girls at the bar were, also drunk, the other girls at the bar, and they were like, she's not a 3, she's a 10. So, by the way, thank you for that. So he insulted me too. He called me unattractive.
Negging you,
Yeah, he was negging me, and he was like, well, why'd you tell everybody? Now you're a 2.
He said that?
Yeah.
I didn't know. When did he say that?
He said that right afterwards when all the girls were like, oh my God, she's a 10. You don't call a girl a 3. And he's like, well, now you're a 2 because you told everybody. Anyway, so the night goes on. I continue to drink with him. And after the bar closes at about 4 a.m, I leave the bar and I couldn't get an Uber or taxi right outside the bar. It was extremely crowded or whatever. And someone told me, I don't remember who it was like, oh, well, you can probably get signal down the road a little bit, about a mile. And I'm just walking, but then I realized that the same dev is following me. And I like turn around and I'm like, oh, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I was thinking maybe you could come back to my hotel with me. And I'm like, no. He persisted. He followed me out of the bar for a mile down the road by myself in the middle of Boston, a city that I had never been to before, traveling alone. And I was starting to feel subconsciously very uncomfortable, to the point where I was on my phone, like texting my friends, but really I was texting a taxi to come get me. And he kept persisting. Oh, well, you can just come back to my hotel, blah, 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 blah. Just saying all this stuff, right? And I'm so drunk, I can hardly think straight. All right. So he knew I was drunk and was trying to take advantage of me, coerce me into going back to his hotel room with me. And so this man who called me unattractive publicly in front of everybody is now trying to get me back to his hotel room with him to have relations. And I remember going into a stream the week after this happened and bringing it up, and the entire chat laughed at me. He was in the chat too. And I spoke about this a little bit. In the last video, it's a rundown of why the game is just bad. I didn't want to focus on this harassment story because, like, I wanted to have respect. I don't know. It's hard for women to discuss sexual harassment, maybe?
Yeah, and you also wanted your video to be about the overarching problems of the game too, and so you didn't want it to seem like you were just clout chasing over the thing that happened.
Yeah, even though this is all true. This definitely happened.
Yeah.
I tried to share my video on the Dead by Daylight Reddit page.
Yeah, I even talked to the mods myself about this. I screenshotted this. I could show it. Literally says that she didn't focus enough on the sexual harassment in the video for them not to deem it as just bashing the game.
Oversaturated
content is why the post was deleted. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's basically just means they're suppressing anything that's contrary to what they want.
Yeah, and I tried to talk to the mods and say, okay, well, if this video is not acceptable, who can be talked to about this? And they're like, well, we do stand behind her or something, but we can't have it here. It was just dumb. Like the fact that she tried to call attention to this through the video and even gave exact timestamps, and they were like, it was only like 10% of the video, so it's not enough. So
yeah, they basically said my video is too long, but really what this means is that I made too many points.
Yeah, the fact that it talks about this for 3 minutes out of a 25-minute video.
Because maybe it's difficult for me to talk about that because it was, I don't know, scary and fucked up.
How's this, Reddit mods? You feel better about this? Is this good enough?
Well, we want to let the player play as themselves. So this is an interactive.
You get to be yourself and see which killer is right for you.
Which traumatized psychopath is the best match for you? Yeah, maybe you guys are the psychopaths. You're trying to make yourself less vilified to the world, or maybe you're compensating for something horrible you do. Like that's what I get from this. It just screams like all the people who designed this are messed up in the head, and they're trying to like make themselves feel like they fit better in society. And maybe I'm way off, but that's the vibe I get from this. Seriously,
That's awesome.
is the game going to be NSFW?
Right.
These comments are so stupid.
Thing to say about something that sounds
It is.
so different.
Hey Trapper, is that a machete in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? That's a check mark. Oh, so you spent time and money on this instead of sorting out the balance and quality of life of this game? Shake my head. I think the game should just cease to exist. Like, the best thing that could ever happen is everyone just uninstall. Right click, trash.
You obviously want more details.
No,
there
I
will
don't.
be more information coming, but for
I don't
now
want
you should know you'll be able to get your little hands.
Little hands?
Yeah, get your
Projecting, bro?
Yeah, get your little hands on it.
What a weirdo. Who is this guy?
The lead game dev. And this just proves the community is all a bunch of mind-controlled sheep. And if you don't believe me, go ahead and like this video and leave a comment down below about how you're not brainwashed.
Everyone gets a unique cosmetic. It's like double speak. It's like Orwellian.
All right, so this is the Twitter page.
Wow, sex in DBD, it's more likely than you think. By Dead by Daylight. They're going the path of like cheap, sexualizing, brutal murder of people. Well, that's not the reason people should be quitting Dead by Daylight, but I do agree with the sentiment. Gotta give the people what they want.
69 joke, haha. You know, we're not surprised that,
And he says nice.
official Twitter page was liking dildos and vibrators.
Yeah,
and stuff.
Didn't you point that out that like there was
I'll
like a
point it out
vibrator?
again.
There wasn't there a vibrator in the background of one of those people's stuff?
It was his stream.
Just created and run by perverts. And the community's full of perverts.
Here it's sex time. Finally added sex to Dead by Daylight, 340 likes.
People expect sex and horror. Like, that's sick. I really feel called out with this new game. Ha 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 ha. I've been boycotting you since you haven't forked up cross progression between consoles and PC, but this might just be enough for me. Oh my god. That's what brings you back, huh?
You better not be lying. The game better have sex in it. Like, imagine going outside and having real relationships with people.
Yeah, imagine like not looking at pixels to get your rocks off. And if you think I'm judging you, I am.
Like, it seems like most people are just taking it off as a joke, but there are some people that are a little too excited. This is enough of this.
I'm not surprised. It's on brand. Sickos making sick things, sexualizing murderers.
As someone who actually really enjoys horror, you know, I'm a writer. This is just, like you said, it's low-hanging fruit. They're trying to pull at the lowest common denominator, and it's working.
Just the Danielle Steele of horror. Literally trash romance implemented into a horror. It's just awful. Maybe if I could find some redeeming quality about this game, it would be different. But I can't. Because I hate the game. The game's terrible. I hate the community. They're a bunch of sick, perverted idiots. I hate the premise. It's a bona fide hide-and-go-seek simulator with no... It's not a game, you know? Like, you went through all that. It's not a game. I'm not surprised that they're doing something to appeal to the community like this because this is the community they fostered. These are the people they want to play their game. The people who are going to get turned on by something so hideous. I mean, this is their target demographic. So if you are interested in this, if this intrigues you, you need to think about your own moral compass because you've been groomed by the game, and there's something inside your head that appeals to you in a way that is abnormal. Like
right.
You're not supposed to be sexually aroused by the idea of a murderer. Like fucking around. Like that's just not.
Yeah,
like
and behavior justifying this for you doesn't make it okay. It just makes you profitable. They're only just profiting off of you. They don't care about you. I'll say it again.
Yeah, you're just a consumer, you know? You're just a consumer. And so they're designing products that you will consume. They justify their bad behavior because behavior justifies it for them.
Subscribe. Subscribe to my channel.
Yeah, if you're that easily brainwashed, just click that subscribe button wherever it is. Consumers,